Alright, you already know who it is, man. The one and only Tahuti. You know what I'm saying? So, it's been a while since I've really been, in front of this camera, really, dealing with this stuff. But I did say, man, I got breakthroughs coming. And yesterday, man, I just dropped this major breakthrough. You see what I'm saying? I'm going to leave a link in the description. You're going to check that video out. A major breakthrough. Now, this video, I really want to just do really an extension to it. You see what I'm saying? Really some stuff that I kind of left out, stuff that I really go into it too much. You see what I'm saying? I wanted to do a quick extension, really. You see what I'm saying? So again, here's the book. Here's the book now. Here's the book. You see what I'm saying? There's the book. James Ennis Brown. There's the book, man. This book really for me, it really did it for me. This book, you see what I'm saying? It really did. I mean, it wasn't the most, like I said, it wasn't, like I said in the video, it wasn't the most scientific, but what he said though, it really, you see what I'm saying? He was uncertain, so I had to do the research, and I did the research, and it was mind blowing. It was mind blowing stuff. So I really wanted to do an extension to that. So now, and I did say it follows up to the video. The video I put up about Bobby Hemmett. How he speaks about escaping reincarnation, right? And what the Egyptians did, right, to escape the reincarnation. I want to break this down to you. So now I said in the video, right? So basically, I broke down how I was dealing with the embalming. You know what I'm saying? I dealt with the science of it, but I left it out. I said, now, why would they need to do that? Now I want to answer that question right here. So now, again, what Bobby Hemmett was broken down now, broke down how, again, so again, what they was doing, dealing with the embalming, he broke it down. So now, and he said how that they tricked the demiurge, right? They had to trick him. And when I watched that video, I just couldn't stop laughing. I couldn't stop laughing because that video came at the right time. When I was doing research for this, it came at the right time. And I just couldn't stop laughing. But I want to break down how it worked. I want to break down how it worked. So in the video I spoke about how to charge in the body. But see, what's happening now is, with these videos now, I've noticed now that I've gone to a new level now with these videos. I got to a new level. When someone doesn't really understand the video, when they can't really give you the questions. When there's no questions, that's when people can't really understand what you're really dealing with. You see what I'm saying? You've gone to a new height, and that's what's taken place. You see what I'm saying? Because I spoke about the charge, but nobody actually asked the question, how do you actually charge a dead body? How do you really charge a dead body? I want to break this down. It's deep. I want to break this down to you. So now, again, the whole embalming process, they want to talk about how, they will talk about how taking the brain through the nose and all of these different things. They'll speak about this, but I won't speak about the intricate process of actually what they was actually doing. So again, I spoke about how they was charging the body, but nobody actually asked, how do you charge a dead body? But again, this also goes into why nobody else has been able to do it. This is the reason why they can't do it today. And it goes into why they can't do it. Because I remember when I was doing first research, when I first heard about the embalming stuff, I remember they used to say that they can't do it today for some reason. Today they can't do it. They can't get the body to preserve for as long. They can't do it. I want to break it down. So again, the reason why they couldn't do it is because there was an ingredient that was in these mummies that these other people don't have. And one ingredient is melanin. That's the ingredient. You see what I'm saying? So essentially what they was doing, it was charging the melanin. But the reason why the melanin is able to be charged is because, but see, when you understand charges and electricity, batteries and stuff, they lose their charge. You see what I'm saying? Things can lose their charge. So essentially what it means is that the melanin is actually a superconductor. That's what it means. The melanin is actually a superconductor. What is a superconductor? A superconductor is an element that at a specific temperature never loses its charge. It will never lose its charge, and that's actually the secret to why the mummies are still here. You see what I'm saying? It never loses its charge, and that's why they can't do it today, is because they don't have the melanin. They can't do it. You see what I'm saying? It never loses its charge, and that's the key to it. You see what I'm saying? That's actually the key, and that's why it lasts so long. That's why the bodies are still here. It never loses its charge. You see what I'm saying? So again, it shows how the mummies were left untouched now. It'll be there for eternity. You see what I'm saying? So again, going back to what Bobby Hemmett was saying in the video, how he broke down how, again, They was tricking God. They was tricking the demiurge. So when I did the research for this, it lined up because what the impact that it really had for me, because it really showed all this occultism, all this stuff that I was researching it was actually real stuff. This is true information. You see what I'm saying? It's actually true stuff. You see. So again, but also what it shows is how, what it shows, because again, based on charging the melanin, what it shows is they can actually, they can separate the melanin from the soul. So it shows how we are not actually melanin. You see what I'm saying? But we can actually separate the melanin from the soul and keep the melanin down here, and the soul can leave. You see what I'm saying? So that's why it also shows how we are not actually melanin, but the soul can actually leave. It separates it. So melanin is also something that we must have acquired over the millions of years. You see what I'm saying? That's something that we must have acquired over those millions of years. You see what I'm saying? Because again, it shows that we can separate the melanin from the soul. You see what I'm saying? That's what it shows. You see. So again, the whole embalming process was actually what they was doing. They was actually transforming the melanin, putting the melanin into a different state. You see what I'm saying? Changing the state of the melanin. It wasn't just taking the organs out and all the different things. It's actually changing the state of the melanin. But again, what's also deep about that, and we're going to go into it later on. I'll go into it, what it means. But again, what it also shows though, any culture, right, that was actually embalming, that's a black civilization. You see what I'm saying? You can do the research on this. Any culture that was actually embalming and practicing embalming, that's a black civilization, because that's exactly what that was. It was melanin. There was changing the state of the melanin. That's all that was. You see what I'm saying? So it shows it was a black civilization. So Peru, there you go. Now we're starting to put the pieces back together. You see what I'm saying? Put the pieces back together. So now I really want to explain the impact though. I want to explain the impact for me. So again, when I was doing the research now, dealing with melanin now, scientists today, they say that the melanin, no, they're researching melanin today, but they say based on the kind of chemical composition of the melanin, it's hard to actually, it's hard to really study the melanin. So for these people, thousands of years ago, to not only study the melanin, but understand the science of the melanin, understand that melanin was a superconductor, to be able to charge the melanin, what type of people are we dealing with? You see what I'm saying? And now you see what I did with my last video. But see, my last video, a lot of y'all didn't like that video. You see what I'm saying? The video I did with the Final Frontier, a lot of y'all didn't like that video because you couldn't really relate to that video. But now we're putting the pieces back together, showing how that video was actually, I was really dealing with some real science. But again, you see what I'm saying? A lot of y'all didn't like that video. You see? You see what I'm saying? So again now, but again, like I said, but the impact for me though, when I first found it out, because again, when I read the book, when I read this book, I felt like, he was onto something, but it wasn't enough for me to really. I was like, yeah, man, I was on the fence. You see what I'm saying? Originally, when I heard the concept of Egyptians have electricity, I was one of those guys that said they couldn't have. You see what I'm saying? They couldn't have had it. I knew they were advancing on that, but I said to myself they couldn't have had it. So when I was actually looking for it, and that's the thing with Egypt. Egypt's so deep to a point where you have to really look at it twice. Now you have to look at it twice. You see what I'm saying? So when you're going into it with a mindset of actually, when you're looking for the high science, it stands out to you. So when I found that picture with Anubis, I almost broke down. You see what I'm saying? I had to stop. I had to take periodic breaks dealing with the research, because I had to stop. Because, when I found that picture, it was undeniable. I just saw it. Take a closer look. I looked at the feet. I was like, man, they had it. You know what I'm saying? They had the electricity. It's right there, man. I could see it was undeniable. So I almost broke down, man. You see what I'm saying? Because it literally just, everything that I've been researching, dealing with occultism, it shows that I was right. Bobby was right. All these people was right, because that was undeniable. You see what I'm saying? But what it also shows, what it shows for the impact as far as humanity is concerned, what does it say about us right now, though? You see what I'm saying? What does it say about us as far as the perspective of humanity? What does it say about us that a few thousand years ago, you see what I'm saying, they was dealing with that type of science, electricity? That's madness when you really think about it. We've only just caught up to that now. So what are we then? What's the purpose of life? What the hell is really going on? If they had it all back then, and we've only just caught up to it now, so what exactly is taking place? You see what I'm saying? And that's what the impact that video really has. But again, what's happening now is even I've been noticing myself that based on my research, I'm of a different league now. I'm of a different class now. So most people, they can't even relate to it anymore. You see what I'm saying? So most people don't even know the impacts. But for a guy like me, that video is impactful. Unless people are under frequency, they won't even relate to it. But for me, that was impactful. You see what I'm saying? You see. But also what it shows, which I mentioned in the last video, how Egypt didn't actually fall. It couldn't have fallen. It couldn't have fell. It couldn't have. It couldn't have, because if they had that kind of technology, electricity, and I'll show you some of the other stuff, if they had all that, imagine the kind of weapons they could have really had if they wanted to. If they did, shit that they didn't even depict, imagine the weaponry. That's what I'm trying to say. So they would have been untouchable. So when we say, oh, they came in, they took us from Africa, that's garbage when you really deal with the science. Because if they had electricity and all the technology, imagine the kind of weaponry. So nobody could touch them. So the question of Egypt fell, again, I addressed it already. It didn't fall. It just, you did it all. You did it all. Quantum physics, quantum mechanics, thermodynamics. You understand me? You did it all. You did it all. You see what I'm saying? You completed that cycle. And that's what you see what I'm saying? We completed it. So essentially, what took place was we essentially gave up the planet. That's what we did. We had the planet for so long, we essentially gave it up. We handed it over because we did it all. You did it all. You see what I'm saying? And now I want to explain the significance of how it ties into black people now. You see what I'm saying? And how a majority of black people, we can't really function. Not necessarily myself, but certain black people, majority of black people can't even function on a scientific level. You see what I'm saying? But the reason, again, it goes back to, again, you did it all. And that's how the melanin works. And melanin is like a type of innovator. It's like a computer. That's how the melanin works. That's how the melanin works. It's like a computer. It's an innovator. You see what I'm saying? That you did it already, and it keeps moving on. It keeps moving on. So now, what we deal with now, we deal with the music now. We deal with sports now. That's what the best. And we're geniuses in those fields. But before, you was a genius in the field of science. But you've moved on from that now. You see what I'm saying? But what a good archetype for this would be Usain Bolt. Now Usain Bolt, now when he first came on the scene now, and he broke that first record at 9.58 when he did that, I think it was 2008 when he first did that, or 2009. You see what I'm saying? He showed, when you actually see the race, he was in his own race. So everybody else was racing, and he was so far ahead to a point where he was in his own race. That was you in Kemet. You was in your own race. So what is other people? They were in their own. They were doing their own. They were trying to do writing. They were barely even had writing. You had electricity. So you was that far ahead. You was in your own race. You see what I'm saying? And that's what the melanin is. That's what the melanin does. You see what I'm saying? On the track and field now, you see what I'm saying? The melanin, again, it's there's a gap. The melanin is in its own race. But there was a time when you was dealing with that intellectually, and you was intellectually in your own race. You see what I'm saying? That's what you was. You see what I'm saying? So when you understand how melanin works, it's not really unusual to think that we did this. That's what the melanin does. When people see us and see us do all these feats in sports and stuff, they say it's like non-human. These people ain't human and stuff. You see what I'm saying? These people aren't human, and that's how it was intellectually. You would do these things intellectually. People think these guys aren't human. Some aliens did this shit. But then again, that's not completely incorrect based on the melanin. You see what I'm saying? It's this alien substance. You feel what I'm saying? So again, that's what it was. But also, Usain Bolt's career really shows. You want to understand how Egypt, fell, or, you can look at Usain Bolt's career. You see what I'm saying? And how, if you see Usain Bolt at his last race, he didn't necessarily, he kind of like pulled up in the race. He didn't necessarily get to the finish line. He got beaten, essentially. He got beat. That shows the melanin, because, and the reason why is because you did it all. He did it all. You see what I'm saying? And that's like Egypt. You did it all. So it didn't necessarily, you weren't conquered. You did it all. You had nothing left for you. You completed it. You had nothing left for you to do. You see what I'm saying? There was nothing more that you could do. You did it all. And that's the key. You see what I'm saying? So again, Usain Bolt really represents he's really the archetype of Egypt, and that you did it all. You see what I'm saying? You did it all. So again, lastly, again, it just really shows again what's next? People always ask what's next, what's next. I spoke about again in that video, Final Frontier, but again a lot of y'all didn't like that video, right? A lot of y'all didn't like that one. So again, what this explains, what this really explains, essentially we're going into a new paradigm now. You see what I'm saying? That's what's next. A new paradigm, a new reality. You see what I'm saying? That's what's next, because again, you did it all. We're just catching up, and we haven't even fully caught up. You was even more advanced back then, and we're just catching up now. You see what I'm saying? We're just catching up. So you did it all. So what the hell is life all about? What's the purpose of this? If we did it all already, where are we going now then? You see what I'm saying? So again, that's what's happening now. A new reality has to come forward. A new reality needs to take place. But then this also shows dealing with all these hurricanes. The purpose behind what's happening with all these hurricanes is because, again, it's the reason why these hurricanes are happening now. And it seems like there's many hurricanes after one, because what's happening is delayed. It's like a delayed onset type of thing, a delayed reaction, because based on the time manipulation, it's all happening at once. Because they're manipulating time at such a level. You see what I'm saying? Certain things that should have happened a few years ago, or a few decades ago, or whatever, it's happening now. You see what I'm saying? Certain things that should have happened a few years ago, a few months ago, it's all happening at once, because it's a delayed reaction. Because again, they want to slow down time to do what they need to do, dealing with Mars and all that stuff. You see what I'm saying? But again, that's what's pretty much happening really. It's like a conflict. We've got one man that wants to carry on doing it because he's a new man. He's new to this. You see what I'm saying? He's new to this, so he wants to carry on. He wants to keep it going. And you got other people that's done this already. We're done with it. You see what I'm saying? It's like a conflict. You feel what I'm saying? And that's what's taking place here, is a conflict. You see. But again, that's pretty much it, man. So again, man, this was it's a little extension. You see what I'm saying? But again, depending on the feedback of this video, this may or may not be my last video on this channel. It may or may not be my last one. I don't know. Because again, what's happening now? Again, I'm reaching new heights now. And the smarter you become, the more crazy you start sounding to people. And it's no point in making videos if you're no longer relating to people anymore. You see what I'm saying? There's no point. So again, this may or may not be my last one, depending how people are receptive to it. So again, man, like I said, if it is my last one, man, again, I've enjoyed it. I've enjoyed this. You see what I'm saying? I've enjoyed doing these videos, man. You know what I mean? But again, man. So again, man, that's pretty much it for me right here. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I hope there's some good information. Alright, black people. Thanks for watching.